Hello everyone, Orb the Q here, and how is everyone today? Welcome to this video. We are going to be talking a little bit about, well, Hytale. Thank you guys so very much for joining on in and tuning in. So, there are a lot of things that we have yet to cover, such as the nature of Hytale, the world itself, the many optimizable customization that there is to the game, and of course there's a lot to the game that we have yet to even think about. And in due time, we're going to be seeing it all unravel over the course of this year, 2019. Thank you guys so very much. Make sure, before you continue going into this video, that you drop a like down below, subscribe to see more Hytale news or theories, and of course, ring that bell to get the latest notifications of when I go live. So in today's video, I would like to highlight some of the stuff that has already been announced through the blogs on the Hytale website. If you want to go ahead and check that out, the link will be down here in the description and on screen, of course. You can follow Hytale right on Hytale.com, and make sure to stay up to date, guys, because we're going to be going over a lot of news, especially today, because today we're going to be talking about the world of Orbis itself. Here I have a bunch of different ideas mapped out as to how the world of Orbis, in theory, could look. Now, it is actually already been factually stated as to how it will look, and there's even some renditions that have been shown through concept art as to what it will look like. But there were many ideas floating around in my head before all this news was brought forth, and we're going to go through the different misconceptions of the world of Hytale. So the number one misconception is that not every zone is one world, for example. So the entire world of Hytale is made up of different zones. You've got the Grasslands, the desert, the tundra, the volcanic region, and there are two unannounced zones yet to be even named. There's also the coastal plains, or the coastal lands rather. The coastal zone is an entire ocean that leads out to what is called the Infinite Lands. Now, here we got some different ideas that I came up with as to different theories as to what it would all look like. So, many people believe that the entirety of the world would be separated among each other into each of these different zones via worlds. Now, it does look like that in this very picture right here. However, this is not true, and it would just diversify the entire region to the point where none of it would be connected, and it just would not be fun. So, of course, we all theorized, including myself, that maybe it's just one zone leading up to another. Now, Hytale has already dismissed this, and I actually thought that this would not have worked at all, because you would have to go from the plains all the way up through the many different zones, and none of the zones would be connected to each other, except for their neighbors. There were many other ideas that I ended up coming up with as to how the world of Orbis would look, such as this one here, where it's a crescent type of island, with different zones listed all across each of the different coastal plains and connecting to one another in the most part, which you can actually see a better detail right here of how it would have looked. And I do want to mention as to why there's actually blocks down here that would represent these zones. So you may be wondering why there's all these different blocks. Each one of these blocks represents one of the different zones that will be within Hytale. I can't yet simulate it through Hytale just yet. But once that beta comes out, guys, we're definitely going to be strapping ourselves on into Hytale, and we'll be reviewing the beta as it goes along, making sure that we stay up to date fully through Hytale news. Each of these zones, of course, would be the Grasslands, the desert, the tundra, the volcanic one, and then we have two other zones here. And then, of course, the coastal zone, and you may be wondering why each of these blocks are also down underneath the coastal plain, and that's because each one of the zones in the world of Orbis actually connects into the ocean. Now, I thought this was a pretty neat idea where it would all converge into one point, but I don't feel like it would look something like this, as this just looks too simplistic. I was also thinking of how it would look if it were to be done in the Hytale logo, which would have been very obvious for one, and for another, it just looks silly, honestly. But it does actually work. I mean, you have each of the zones following up into each other, and each of the zones actually connect to the sea. But in reality, what Hytale has already highlighted, and what this picture that I'm now showing actually highlights is that the world of Orbis will be shown to have these separate different zones almost connected, interconnected to each other. Now, this is my theory as to what the maiden island for Orbis will look like. So you've got the ocean here, which then leads to these coastal plains, and this would be the area that you would start out in, the Grasslands or Zone 1. You would be able to move up through here, and then there would be a shift in elevation as you move through the icy mountains of the tundra, and then up into the volcanic region, into the other two zones that are out there, currently unannounced as to what their names are. All these would have their own different coastal type of ocean area, except for this last zone here, which I actually feel like they would pull this off. Pulling something like this off would make a lot of sense to have the final zone not even connected to the ocean, so that players can't just simply go in there, they actually have to work their way up. This could also mean that players may be able to just jump right on up into the other region. So now if we turn our attention to this, we've got the many different regions to Hytale. Now there's another better picture than what I have here, but I'm going to be using this for 3D purposes because I decided to make it myself. Of course, it's a little bit small version and it's not completely accurate, but I just needed it for the purpose of this video. I'm going to detail each of these different zones that have currently been announced. So here we have the Grasslands, which looks pretty plain, no pun intended, but it actually makes a lot of sense because a lot of this world is going to have many of the different biomes that the world would have, and the easiest biome that one would be able to traverse through would be plains and maybe some forests. Of course, we've got a river here that's symbolizing the flow of water from the mountains from various different other zones. And then as we delve down into the underground, you can actually find that there is some interior locations. I'll even go ahead and zoom in on the picture that we have here to show off the different interior sections of the underground. We do have this golem here that looks like it may be a sub-boss of some kind. And then if we come down deeper into here, we can actually find that there are certain civilizations that you can see in the caves here. Like this looks like it might be lit up, or it might be some sort of kingdom down here. And then, of course, we got a stronghold-looking structure down this way. Now, there's not any confirmation yet as to what these areas could entail. And of course, if we move on into Zone 2 here, you can actually see on the image itself that there's a lot of familiar areas that we saw in the teaser trailer back last month, with a lot of these pillars and different plateau type of structures within the desert. Now, it's not entirely certain if this is actually an entire desert or if it's going to just be an entire, like, wasteland of some sort, maybe even just a savanna. But regardless, the design is really, really well, and I do like the interior sections. I do love this crosshair, the cross-section of the different zones and everything. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be blending the biomes or anything like that yet, but it seems like they may have to in order to allow the combination of the two different hot regions that are smushed between Zone 3 to give it a little bit of icy room. Speaking of which, we got Zone 3 here, which is the Arctic Tundra. If you come on up this way, you can find that it actually does have some ice for the lakes, and there are still running rivers, so it's not entirely frozen over. There's actually some mobility that you can traverse through water. But what I truly find fascinating is what's below the surface of the ice region, where we have all these different caves and systems that seem to be carved out thanks to the water, and it looks as though there's going to be many crystalline structures and caves that we'll be able to go through here. It looks like as you go down deeper, it gets warmer and warmer, and that might be a great place to mine places. I could imagine this being much like the mountain regions of Minecraft, where if you go underneath a mountain in Minecraft, you'll find lots of emeralds. So maybe if we go underneath the tundra, we'll find different materials. And it's actually true for every single one of these regions. As you go further in, you'll find many different ores, and they'll just increase in value as you go further through the zones. Now, Zone 4 is a very tricky zone to walk through, of course, because there's a lot of lava everywhere. It's pretty hot, very magmatized. There's much lava everywhere, A dangerous zone indeed. This zone is represented by fire, destruction. I could see this place being very destructive indeed. However, beneath the surface, you can actually see here on the image that there seems to be a lot of greenery, as if someone does live below the surface. There are two other regions I would like to cover, and that would be Zone 5 and Zone 6, or the Unannounced Zones. Now, I'm calling them Zone 5 and Zone 6 because it looks as though there are two other zones past this, and they've already given us the Coastal Zone, the Ocean Zone, as well as the Infinite Lands, which they have already announced, and I don't see them just using concept art that would actually give away these different areas, yet at the same time release the coastal plains as well as the other regions that they've already shown. My theory as to what Zone 5 could be is it could be some sort of like Badlands area or Outlands, and we'll get more on that later. Now, these Outlands would be very desolate, very dark and destructive. These places would be in much decay, it would look horrendous, and of course, because of that, it would look very dangerous to traverse through, but very rewarding. Now, as we saw in the concept art here, we can find that there are a lot of storm clouds too, so it might be a stormy area with lots of light. Now, I have no theory yet as to what Zone 6 may be, but I could see it being some sort of a void type of area, much like the end in Minecraft. Now, there's actually another zone I would like to go over, as this is one that has been addressed within the Hytale community already. There is the Coastal Zone, or the Ocean Zone, and this is a very, very interesting zone, because you have all these different zones connected to the ocean. And if you look at the ocean here, you can actually see that it delves down into the ocean. And it has been stated by Hytale team, and within the trailer itself, you can actually see a large drop-off that goes deep down into the ocean. And of course, this ocean leads out to the Infinite Lands. Truly infinite, as it seems to be, like Minecraft, a pre-generated type of system. Now, I do have a theory that there may even be another zone that goes beyond even the Void Zone, as there is much corruption on the world of Orbis. There's a lot of it themed in this game, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So we're going to be talking about Gaia here real quick. So Gaia has these different stones that she holds within her hair. Now, each of these orbs, or cubes as you may want to call them because they're cuboids, are each influenced by the different elements. And if we take a look at this concept art, the 5 elements surrounding Void element would be fire, lightning, wind or freedom, earth, and water. Now, I feel like each one of these zones will definitely be a primary objective for each of these stones, as we'll find a lot of the detail here in this image alone says a lot. We can actually see that where the golem lies, there's this cave here. However, behind the cave, it seems like there's some stone formations going on behind it. And if we take a look at this picture, we have stone circles that detail each of these different elemental stones. Now, it's not directly connected just yet, but if you take a close look at these colors, it seems to be that Zone 1 would have these rock-like structures, these circle structures, with their colors being green, symbolizing Earth. Zone 2 would have that blue highlight in there for wind or freedom, and then the tundra would be water, volcano would be fire, and it looks like Zone 5 would potentially be this lightning land. Now, there's definitely no confirmation on this just yet, but this is just a theory, my idea as to how it may proceed forward. However, it looks like it would be a great story aspect. This might actually prove to be true, but we'll just have to wait and see until Hytale comes out or until there's more news on Hytale. What I also really find interesting about this image is that each one of these stone circles seem to represent a different shape. With the Earth being a circle, the fire seems to be based off of a square according to this little square here, or maybe that's just simply a texture box. Then we have water being a star, and wind being a triangle. Unfortunately, there's nothing on lightning just yet. which may actually confirm that this 5th zone may be for the Lightning Temple or for this Lightning Stone Square. We have one more element, which would be the Void element, which potentially could be the thematics for the 6th zone, where it seems that everything is pretty much deleted or destroyed, and this could be a primary location for all these Void monsters, including the Void Dragon. These monsters are specifically labeled as Void monsters, which leads me to believe that maybe there's a zone beyond the 6th zone, which would be a zone of corruption. But that's just something we'll have to see, guys, because we're still just in the beginning of showcasing Hytale. And if you guys like this video, make sure to definitely drop a like down below, subscribe to see more, because we are going to be covering Hytale so very much over the course of the next few months until its release in beta. And when it comes out in beta, we're definitely going to be playing it, so make sure to join on in, guys, for more Hytale news and highlights. And thank you guys so very much for joining in on this video. This is your host, Aura of the Q, and until the next one, I'll see you soon. Have fun!